Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now July 3rd of 2021, and one thing that a lot of fans have been very excited about is, of course, The Mandalorian Season 3 and 4, and what's to come by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, plus others joining the team. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Also, make sure to check me out at Mike01 on Twitter if you would like to. Now, one thing that we do know about when it comes to Disney Star Wars is that both Jon and Dave are on a mission. Essentially, what they are planning to do is that they really are pretty much working day in and day out to drag in tons of Star Wars Legends content into the Disney canon. So what they're doing is they're cherry picking from many of the beloved stories from the 1990s to the early 2000s, even up to the stories in which it went into the 2010s. Because the last Legends book, I believe, was Crucible in 2013 before Disney took over, or just after Disney took over. Now we're in a phase where Jon and Dave, they're working on Mando Season 3 and 4 endlessly, as well as the Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka Tano series, as well as more series to be announced by this November and December, as well as that Star Wars Celebration of next year, which is going to take place in May. So keep your eyes open for May of next year. That's when a lot more TV shows and movies are set to be announced. The thing that really excites me the most about Jon and Dave is what they have planned for The Mandalorian Season 3 and 4. We're going to dive right into this and exactly what it means for some of the Legends-oriented characters as well as some of the other characters that we all know and love. So, given that Jon Favreau is working very close with Dave Filoni and George Lucas as well on that side of the story, we also know that Kathleen Kennedy is out of the picture, thankfully, when it comes to these new projects. So, it's going to be very Jon Favreau driven. It's going to have the visionary of George Lucas, and that's one thing to be excited for. So now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are focused on their new Star Wars universe, it's described that currently both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are actively developing their new projects, such as Star Wars Ahsoka and others like the Book of Boba Fett, as well, that is set to release later this year. Now further, it's described that currently Jon Favreau is creating a major new storyline for The Mandalorian Season 4 that is set to release in 2023 that is going to involve a major storyline involving the clones of Emperor Palpatine, as well as a brand new backstory of Mara Jade that will be implemented into the form of her role helping the remnants of the Empire throughout the galaxy. Further, it's noted that this major piece for The Mandalorian Season 4 is set to be teased by the end of Mando Season 3, with actor Ian McDiarmid set to reprise his role as Palpatine for the Season 3 finale of Mando, that will tie directly into the Palpatine clones and the entire process and how it will offer a deeper explanation as to what was shown in the sequels. So let me just stop right here for 1 second. I know that some people out there may not like this, of how it is low-key directly tying into the sequels. However, this is Jon's way of kind of resetting many different aspects. Moving on. Now, Jon Favreau is said to be preparing ways to reset the sequel trilogy using the Mandoverse as an example that will take fans by surprise. It's also noted that Season 4 of The Mandalorian is set to involve another fan-favorite Legends character, such as Kyle Katarn, that Jon Favreau is currently in the process of choosing who should be cast for the role. Now, Mando Season 4 is set to be very Force-heavy, where even Dave Filoni stated that the Force will be strong with the next 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Not just that, but Favreau is already implementing brand new tales of Grand Admiral Thrawn that are set to tap into his backstory as well in the 3rd season of Mando, as well as the Ahsoka Tano series for Disney+. So one thing about this that I think a lot of fans need to absolutely be aware of is that Kathleen Kennedy is not going to be involved with these new stories, which is good news, because it's going to be entirely driven by George, Jon, and Dave, giving us that fresh new take on Star Wars and exactly what Legends was. Now, here's a very important segment that I think a lot of people need to know, is that Jon and Dave are also going to be working with some new writers and directors coming on board of, the new Star Wars universe that they're going to be announcing by this fall as well. So we're going to be learning about new creators taking, control of Star Wars besides Jon and Dave to be helping them by their side. And that, to me, is another thing that I believe is going to be pretty much all on Jon and Dave, and they're going to choose wisely, they're going to make the right calls, and I do trust in the process. So, everything related to Palpatine, alright? This is a very touchy scenario in Star Wars. I know some people out there do not like the clone aspect at all, and I understand that. I, however, really like the entire situation of throwing in the clones of Palpatine, kind of telling us more about exactly how he was able to pull this off. To me, it just goes to show us, the fans, that Jon Favreau is trying to change the sequels in very different ways, while at the same exact time expanding them to make us view the sequel movies in a different light. Do I think it's going to change how the fans like the sequel trilogy? I don't think so, but it'll offer them a little bit of a different perception of how they can actually see the movies, how can they actually see specific scenes, and exactly the history of what went behind that. So, obviously, when we go ahead and see what Jon and Dave have been brewing for the past couple of months, they are beginning to write in many of the beloved Legends characters. Mara Jade, Palpatine, Kyle Katarn. Of course, we're talking about Palpatine's clone here, which was a Legends character. Technically in the sequel trilogy, but not the same exact type. Basically, what Jon Favreau is doing, and we talked about this lightly a couple of weeks ago, is the Palpatine clone, the actual one that we're going to see by Ian McDiarmid in Season 4 and at the very end of the 3rd season, is going to be a younger version of Palpatine that is going to somehow, some way end up being a failed clone. Now, that to me is a very interesting process. You know, that right then and there kind of resets aspects of the sequel trilogy, because as far as we know in Legends, you know, Palpatine was able to clone himself successfully twice. They want to kind of do that in the canon under Disney. They want to show us him pretty much cloning himself twice as well. So you can see how they're cherry picking from the original stories from the 90s and, of course, the 2000s. Now, I think that Mara Jade is a very interesting character. We also know that Jon Favreau has already hired Karen Gillan and Sebastian Stan to portray both Luke and Mara. That is their game plan. That is their end game when it comes to Star Wars. They want to bring in these fan favorite characters to take control, to kind of steer things in the right direction for the fandom, to really bring back many of the hardcore fans that left the Star Wars franchise quite a long time ago. Ever since the very end of 2019, a lot of fans left and said no more. And the Gina Carano situation did not help either. So, like I said before, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.